phase of moon. Third phase of moon.
Do you think you know everything about UFOs? Well, let me tell you, I still don't know everything about UFOs because of our new guest member, Michael Schratt. He's got something incredible to share with us, as we've been stating over the past few weeks that Michael Schratt's going to be revealing never before heard case files, and it's just amazing. And we're going to be sharing a little bit of what Michael Schratt shared with us today. So buckle up, everybody. We went down the history road and I learned a lot of things, and I'm sure you will. Check this out.
Hi folks, military aerospace historian Michael Schratt with you here again with another episode of the Auto Binder Reports, and I want to go ahead and kick this off with the first case here, and we'll pull up the first slide. December 21st, 1964, Fisherville, Virginia. While driving, Horace Burns saw a giant UFO shaped like a beehive with a dome on top measuring 120 feet in diameter and 80 to 90 feet high. He saw it land for a while, then flew away. So, ladies and gentlemen, these configurations are just plain bizarre. They don't seem to fit any kind of pattern here. What are we dealing with? That's the question. Is it something extraterrestrial? Is it interdimensional? Is it perhaps something from a pre-existing high-tech civilization that's been on this planet for thousands of years? I want to go ahead and flip over to the color illustration that Tom Bogan did. And you can see what we're looking at here. We've got this beehive-shaped craft that was witnessed by, it appears to be one single eyewitness on this particular case. Very odd configuration. I also want to bring your attention to a very interesting article that was published in the Post-Crescent, April 21st, 1968. The title is Flying Saucers, Cigars, Triangles, Even Beehives Reported by Observers. Now, the article talked about patterns that they were looking for within the UFO research, and I've identified at least three patterns. Number one, a high-pitched drilling noise immediately before liftoff. Number two, tubes, pipes, and cylinders on the bottom of the craft. And number three, ladies and gentlemen, we keep on getting reports of that just before departing. These craft make this tilting motion, or maybe something that would look like a falling or fluttering leaf. We've seen that multiple times as well. They also talked about the flap of 1952 and 1967. And they mentioned UFOs appeared in the vicinity of high voltage power lines and bodies of water. Also, we've got a very interesting article that was published in the News Leader October 3rd, 2016, and it included a really nice drawing of what this craft probably looked like. We've got an enlargement for you here. There appeared to be this band of lights going around the outer circumference of the craft. This was 5 p.m. This is according to the original eyewitness, and I've also pulled up a portion of the article as well, so you can see that as well. And I've got the enlargement here. And we'll just go through this very quick article here. On December 21st, 1964, as Harrisburg gunsmith Horace Burns drove his 1958 Mercury station wagon east on Route 250 near Fishersville, he saw a huge metallic object fly over from the north. It crossed Route 250 about 1/4 mile west of Woodrow Wilson Rehab Center and landed in a field to his right, just as his car shut off and he drifted to a stop. Burns described the object as 125 feet in diameter and 80 to 90 feet tall. It was shaped like a beehive with no visible portholes, wings, or seams. He watched as it rested for 60 to 90 seconds, then rose up, tilted, and flew northeast. Shaken, he restarted his car and drove home. So, a couple points to make out here. Number one, the article states that the car cut off and he drifted to a stop. So, ladies and gentlemen, we've got a CE2 case right there. We've got a CE2 case because we're talking about physical effects that this craft had on other vehicles or people. Then it also says that it rose up and tilted. So this is, again, that pattern recognition where we've seen as these craft depart, they make this tilting motion or something that is equivalent to like a fluttering leaf as it departs. Okay, folks, I've got our second case here, and we've pulled up the original sketch from the Auto Binder collection. October 26, 1966, 5 p.m., as reported by Miss C. Parkins of Fort Wayne, Indiana, a strange quote-unquote football hovered over a newspaper plant whose stacking machinery went temporarily out of order as an EM effect, electromagnetic ray, came from the UFO. So once again here, ladies and gentlemen, we're talking about a CE2 case. It had some type of physical effects. Just to go over the J. Allen Hynek classifications of sightings. As we know, Mr. Hynek made a cameo appearance in the closing scene of Close Encounters of the Third Kind. A Close Encounter of the First Kind is a visual sighting, including lights in the sky. Close Encounter of the Second Kind involves physical traces, which include broken branches and engines being stalled. Close Encounter of the Third Kind is a UFO encounter where an animated entity is present. Now that includes robots, humanoids, and quote-unquote aliens or extraterrestrials. We'll go ahead and move on to the full color illustration done by Tom Bogan. Now, I like to ask the question, were there any other electromagnetic effects with this case? Since it's right here by the newspaper area here, there must have been some surrounding effects as well. Also want to highlight an article from the Morning Call, March 23rd, 1966, where they talk about 89 more watch football-shaped UFO. J. Allen Hynek was actually dispatched to gather these cases. And in a nutshell here, some of the witnesses reported that the craft that was seen, it wobbled and it wavered as it departed. And in one case, it zipped right in front of a dormitory window before it stopped. So it made this very sharp turn, and then it stopped immediately on a dime. So very unusual flight characteristics with this particular case. Okay, I've got our next case in line here. This is May 1967. Mr. X, name withheld by request, of Anderson, South Carolina, was fishing on Hartwell Lake and saw an octagonal UFO apparently pumping up water through a metal tube. Mr. X was near enough to cast and strike the object, but nobody came out, and it soon shot away into the sky. So this is interesting. Now, the fact that he was so close that he could cast his fishing line and hit the object means that he must have been within 100 feet of it. Very close encounter. Also, we've got this same motif just keeps on popping up, ladies and gentlemen. We've got this pipe that goes into the water, and then we've got at least 1, 2, or 3 of these exhaust or safety valves where water's pumping out. Something going on there. Now we'll go ahead and flip over to the color illustration that Tom's done, and you can see this small pipe coming out of the side of the craft. You can see these exhaust valves, and then the fisherman actually hitting this craft. So again, he must have been within no more than 150 feet, maybe even 100 feet away from this craft. Also want to bring up a very interesting report, and we'll switch over to the original sketch on this one that was provided by David Marler. Now, this did not make it into David's book. This was given to me personally. And I call this series the Water Pumper UFOs because that's what these things are doing. This was 2012 at Little Pudding River, Oregon, and we've got the original sketch by the primary eyewitness here. This was triangular in shape. It had rounded corners. It was about 150 feet across. It hovered about 15 feet above the water, and then all of a sudden, according to the primary eyewitness, approximately an 8-foot diameter, what appears to be a transparent tube, retracted from the bottom of the craft, basically hit the surface of the water and then started sucking up water into this tube. Now, concurrently, while this is going on, there's water being sprayed on the side of this tube back into the river. Just very strange. At this time, there's 3 of these pipes that pop out from the bottom of this craft, and they act as kind of a safety relief valve. They're also spraying this water back into the to the river as well. Now, as all this is going on, this primary eyewitness said that he could hear this quote-unquote swooshing noise like a washing machine, and that this craft would repeat this cycle until it was done. That's kind of like how he described it. We'll go ahead and flip over to the full color illustration. Now, I've also done a AutoCAD rendering so you can see the direction of how this water is being pumped in and then sprayed out on either side. So this is kind of a cleaned up drawing from his original sketch. We'll move over to the color illustration now. This is done by Tom Bogan. Now here you can see the pipe coming down with the exhaust valves. And he also stated that before this craft departed, it made a rocking motion. So we've heard that at least 2 or 3 times now. And it rose up and sped away. Now, while it was hovering, he could see this band of lights going back and forth along the outer portion of the craft. Now, ladies and gentlemen, this looked identical, repeat, identical to the Night Industries 2000 Knight Rider TV series. I know all of you know what I'm talking about. That red light that was in front of the Firebird, that's what this thing looked like. He also said on the upper part of the dome, there was what looked like windows as well. So some type of windows were located at that location. Also, I want to report that he also stated that there was a pale blue light that came out from the side of this craft, and then there appeared to be these white lights or orbs that were kind of circling around the craft. Now, they stayed within the vicinity of the craft, and then just before it departed, these 3 lights, they merged with the original object, and then the entire unit departed at a high rate of speed. Folks, I've got our 4th case all prepared here, ready for you. January 24th, 1968, at Indiana, Pennsylvania, a witness saw a saucer hovering over a pond with 2 occupants who were apparently repairing their equipment. So I've got 2 separate sightings of a round-shaped UFO with transparent dome on top, including these human-like figures inside. They're repairing equipment, at least 2 separate cases. One of them is the Fothergill case of Papua New Guinea. This is June 26, 1959, that had 4 human-like figures on top of what looked like a 2-tiered wedding cake. They were also, quote-unquote, repairing equipment. Now, we'll go ahead and flip over to the color illustration here. You can see the primary eyewitnesses kind of looking at this sighting here, looking at this dome-shaped craft. Questions that we should answer here is, number 1, could this be a USO case because it's in the vicinity of a pond here? Number 2, what material is the transparent dome made out of? Number 3, what propulsion system are they using? Number 4, what instruments are they repairing? Keep hearing about this instruments being repaired. And number 5, how do they exit the dome? At this point, we'll move on to the first illustration. This is a sketch done under the jurisdiction of the primary eyewitness. I pulled this from the QFOS files, that's Center for UFO Studies. This is originally a NICAP file, sighting of a circular-shaped craft that had a transparent dome on top with 2 occupants inside. This is December 8th, 1967, Idaho Falls, Idaho. This is at nighttime. We'll go on to the second illustration here. Now, the primary eyewitness was coming out of her house. She was going to be picked up by her friend. She noticed this glare kind of above the house. She could also see the reflection of the glare on the snow below. As this craft, whatever it was, got closer, it kind of made this tipping motion. At that point, she could see the outline of quote-unquote indistinguishable features or figures. At that point, this thing rotated clockwise as seen from below, and she could definitely get a good look at these figures. At this point, she was very frightened. She ran inside. She said the craft was about the size of a house, and she wanted to get her sister, but her sister was barefoot, so she didn't come out. Primary eyewitness went back outside to see this craft. It turned kind of an orange in color, and we'll go ahead and we'll switch over to the third illustration. Now, at this point, she could see the movement of this craft as it was departing. Very good drawing by the sketch artist here, showing you as this craft is departing, it's making this falling leaf wobble motion. I've got it right here in the text here. Flew away rotating in tip plane, appeared to wobble. So, ladies and gentlemen, I want to point out to the fact that this is something that we're seeing again and again, these patterns. For some reason, when these UFOs depart the eyewitness area, they seem to make this powered up wobble movement, tipping movement, and then they fly away at kind of a high rate of speed. And I want to thank you for your attention.
So like I said, Michael Schratt, his knowledge, his expertise, his investigation is impeccable. It's top-notch from eyewitnesses from the day it happened. And they're historical files that people may have never heard before, but we're sharing it again right here at Third Phase Moon, because this information, we're learning things that I didn't even know. Let me tell you, when I heard about these swirling lights around this triangular craft, it brought chills to the spine. My hair rose because when we witnessed the TR-3B in 2010, December 30th, we saw it very close and we noticed the swirling lights, this escort. And these escort array of orbs, energy, I didn't know what it was, but we saw the triangular craft and it was massive. Probably about a football in size. It descended down upon us, but these swirls of lights that escorted the craft really is amazing that Michael Schratt has come across case files that represent what technology is happening right now. And let me tell you, we got a lot of UFO videos that have been coming in over the past few days. You may have seen that we're stepping up the content here. We're putting in the extra mile, trying to bring you the latest news as fast as possible. And this Michael Schratt stuff, in my opinion, shouldn't be forgotten as well. This, again, is a historical platform that we're going down the road and we're all learning at the same time. So if you're enjoying this, if you're enjoying Michael Schratt's testimony, his investigation, his research, give us a big thumbs up. Let us know. We've got a lot more case files that Michael Schratt has in his back pocket. It's just the tip of the iceberg. Everybody, be safe out there. Blake Cousins, keep your eyes on the skies. And if you haven't checked out Countdown to Disclosure, check the trailer out right now. We'll see you real soon.
I think it's terrifying. I mean, this seems potentially like one of the biggest stories of my lifetime. And I don't care if it's about UFOs or whatever you call it. Something that we don't understand is getting very close to our military aircraft.
The technologies related to energy generation should come out first.
This hybrid aerospace underwater craft is able to basically generate an electromagnetic field.
It is President Trump's belief that the United States must remain as dominant in space as we are on land and sea and the air. And your charge is to see to that mission with the United States Space Force.
There were 3 people on my team assassinated, and I was almost killed.
With a lot of people that would like to know what's going on.
It's a matter of national security.
But apparently, just recovered are off-world vehicles not made on this Earth.
The president will respond to the subject the way they want them to. There's a black box with all the technologies that would give us a civilization that's sustainable, peaceful, etc., and that's been around for decades.
Everybody's asking the biggest question in the world. Are we alone?
Look, it's just stalled out there.
The narrative that's being launched, which is a false narrative, is that we're not alone and that those civilizations are a threat. The problem is that the public has to be informed and involved.
It could be a brief statement saying, hallelujah, I'm finally vindicated.
I'm not completely convinced they're gonna let this stay like it is.
But the people who are surrounding that level of our politicians and government are not told. Like the movie Independence Day, where Will say, let's go kick alien butt.
Third phase of moon. Third like the moon.